Hello my dear friends, this is a PaintyKat. My name is Catherine. Welcome on my demonstration of real-time tutorial of Lilac. You can find on my Patreon this tutorial available for my patrons at level roses, and I want to let you know what you can expect from this lesson and what techniques we're going to use. First of all, please be sure you found sketch also available on my Patreon, and you know what kind of art supplies and quality we have to use here. This is a watercolor. I'm using White Nights. It's kind of common here in my location, but you can use any professional watercolor available for you. Also very important, it's paper quality. You can find what kind I'm using at the moment, and please be sure you're using at least 300 grams. That's important because techniques we're going to use wet and wet, layering, glazing, and all this together, because lilac kinda interesting flower. It have thousands flowers in one bunch, and still we wanna learn how to paint this flower very detailed. That's why we actually have to use very nice quality of paper. We're starting from the first layer, and it's just a planning what and where we're gonna paint. You can see it's just a separate flowers combined as a bunch. Again, you can check my sketch, and final work, final result also available on my Patreon. You can check it. You can check basics of this technique in my previous tutorial. It's a hydrangea and a blue teeth. There we followed similar steps, and tutorial available for everyone. It's for free in my Patreon in real time also. Here in full version of this tutorial you can find all mixes I'm using and recommending for lilac. Be patient, because for this tutorial, even if size of paper not that big, you need at still 2.5 hours if you already have experience with a watercolor. If you not, plan 3 hours or more, because sometimes we have to take a rest between steps. It's giving us a fresh look, and we can check what we have done on a previous step. Sometimes we can correct it if needed. If you need any help, you can photo your work even in the process and place it in community wall on Patreon. For all my patrons of level roses, critic by request, and any help available, I'm checking Patreon daily, and I will answer your questions as soon as I will see your answers. So welcome, don't be shy, it's very important. It's actually why we need teachers sometimes. And when I was younger, I was student at art school. One of the most helping thing was critic, and not just works that I already had done, but works in progress. Each hour, sometimes even 15-20 minutes, we had to put our paintings to the main wall. We had the special wall where our teacher was checking how work was going, and we had critics and some help from our teacher. So just keep in mind, it's important if you learning. Again, if you already experienced enough. I hope you get some interesting tricks from these tutorials that will help to improve some of your skills, maybe give you some good ideas for your own paintings. As you can see, background for this tutorial painted wet in wet, but some areas have special transferring elements from foreground to background. Some green leaves have really sharp edge, and same leaf can have very soft, very interesting wet in wet detail also. It's really helping to unite foreground and background together. It's important, and we already discussed about it in my previous tutorials with birds, so please check. I already explained how important it is. We're not just painting different elements, no, we're painting the whole composition. And it's so important to analyze how to unite different areas and create really well-balanced, good-looking final work. All tricks about it, all recommends you can find in real-time version of this tutorial. And now let's see just a demonstration. Now you can see the next step, and I already warned you about good quality of paper because it's already third step, second layer for some flowers. It's shadows inside of these separate flowers that connected in the whole bunch. And you can see here some color variations. And again, it's a question of analyze. You need to think where you have a light, where you have a shadow, and now you can check it's the process of glazing as well. The final volume look we can create with glazing exactly. It's so helping technique. Sometimes it can be tricky for beginners because it's important to know what colors to use for glazing. Once you get it, next time you can use it for your own paintings, for another kind of flowers, and in any time glazing will be at your service. And if you see some detail, some flower or fruit looking flat on your composition, use glazing technique and you'll see the result really looking much better. And in one tutorial we combine different techniques to create very beautiful painting in the end. Wet and wet for background. Also it's a planning and creating transferring areas to unite foreground, background. Also it's a layering and glazing. Also in very end of tutorial I'll demonstrate how to use white gouache smart to create very detailing, highly detailing final result. It's up to you. Some people like it, some people don't, but for me I'd say it's just one more technique in your own hands. You can decide you want to use it or you don't, but you need to know how to use it and what result it can give to you. Lilac almost done. You can see now process of detailing. It's a center. In each flower we have to place small dot and then spread it, and each flower now looking very realistic. references helping for it. So if you love these flowers, I recommend make your own photos. For example, at my area it's a time now for this kind of flowers. Sometimes I'm just going around in a park and I can make 1-2 shots just on my mobile, you know, if I see something really beautiful, for example blooming lilac, and also check internet. There is lots of photos there and it's very nice ideas for compositions for some different colors. Also, you know, lilac can be not just this color, it can be white. Also tricky can be for painting, and just remember it's have a green as a basic. It can be more bluish, more pinkish. This color I'd say classical for lilac, that's why I choose it. But again, it's up to you, you always can change it. If you know process, steps, next time you can change some details and in the end you'll get another really different looking painting. Also, it's different kind of butterflies can be included in this tutorial. Follow your own taste. In my view, green one will fit nice here, and it's very common as well for this time. It's late spring now. At this step I'm painting green leaves one by one. Basic level for it already done, so I have it in my mind. I know how final result looking in my imagination. If you don't, you can check final result on my Patreon. This is for free, available for everyone. Just follow link below, you can check it. I also want to let you know a lots of sketches you can find on my Patreon. It's more than 50 for sure, and you can use them all. Sketches available for patrons at the very starting level, and you can find also flowers there, also lilac bouquet in a vase. We painted before with a gouache, but if you have experience after this tutorial with lilac, would be very interesting to paint it with watercolor as well, don't you think? Painting, it's of course a question of practice. Here we have 3 bunches. That's because I wanted to make more practice for you. If it's not very successful from the start, don't quit this painting, don't stop. Second one will be better, and third one will be much better. And watercolor as well as oil and gouache and acrylic not possible to understand and see when not all steps are done. As well for this tutorial, yeah, lilac looking almost completed, but still there is gonna be a white gouache layer, isn't it? So you have to make all steps, you have to see how painting changing after each step, and we will go through each step together in this tutorial. If you have any doubts, you can't understand if result successful or not on each step, again, please welcome on my Patreon. We can check and I can recommend for you maybe something that will improve your work. As soon as you can see empty white paper cover it, with watercolor. This painting getting final look. It's very important not to leave any empty paper areas, even if you think it's need to stay white. Just take clear water and don't forget to change your water in the process. That's very important as well. So if you want to keep some details white, still wet it a little bit, but don't leave it without any touch, because in the end it's gonna look as you forgot to paint there anything, because even top structure of paper changing if water touch it. Don't matter if there any color or water was clear. So it's a small trick. For example, here I have a butterfly, and parts of wings gonna stay almost white, but I will cover it with a slight green color, exactly to get the final look. Also, you can see there small amount of blue. Here I have only small piece of sky in the right corner and no any blue areas, isn't it? And in the wing of butterfly I have soft touch of blue. So tiny details, isn't it? And even it looks like it's not important, but everything is important if you want to create beautiful painting in the end. And that's what I want to share to you, how to create very, very beautiful composition. It's attention to each detail, what color we pick, what lines we're creating sharp, where we want to create more details, and where it's need to be less detailing, not to catch attention from the foreground. For example, how many lilac bunches you can count here on this watercolor? 3? Is it so? Not really, because we have some of them on a background. But it's so soft, it colored wet in wet, and now I'm making some tiny detailization on it, again for better connection between background and foreground. And in the end, this lilac looking not as just cutted flowers from the bush, no, it's looking just as a piece of huge plant somewhere on a nature, in a park, for example, in a garden. As well, tiny detailization for other background bunches. You can see even tiny, very soft flower right on top. And as a last step, it's a white gouache. You can use acrylic as well. Personally, I like gouache much more with watercolor, because it's giving matte finish. That's difference between acrylic finish and gouache finish. Watercolor itself have a matte, so gouache fits perfectly for it. And also you can check tutorials with birds. There we did coloring. For this painting we don't need a coloring of gouache, but be sure you put nice amount of water in gouache, because it's need to be bit transparent. Again, we working with watercolor. Gouache can have very nice coverage, but for watercolor we don't need it. Don't forget about signing of your painting. Even if you're creating it together with me, it's still your own painting. My dear friends, I will wait for you on my Patreon. All links you can find down below, as well for art supplies. It was a PaintyKat, and I wish you all the best. Bye bye.